Watch. Hear from the attorney of former Nelsonville City Council members fighting to get their seats back. Plus, it's a critical week for the Biden campaign with congressional Democrats voicing concerns as they return to Washington. And have you noticed more bugs this summer? What you need to know to keep yourself and garden safe. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Haley Swano and welcome to Newswatch. Tonight is Nelsonville City Council's first meeting since an appellate court decided who sits on council. Newswatch reporter Allison Patton has more.
Thanks, Haley. The legal drama over who will be on council is far from over. On Friday, we told you that the case is headed to the Ohio Supreme Court on appeal. Here's what the attorney for former council president Rita Wen and Sue Powell told me about what he will tell the Supreme Court.
Is to argue that the Court of Appeals is wrong because they're using the wrong date.
Now the appellate court ruling says Wen and Powell filed their lawsuit too late. In the ruling, the court says they should have sued in February. But Wen's attorney, Josh Brown, says that timeline isn't right because she continued to act as council president for over a month. Wen filed the case in late April, shortly after she and another member were blocked from taking their seats. The confusion as to who is on council comes from Wen's resignation in February, but then changed her mind shortly after. We don't know when the court will consider the case. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Allison Patton, live in studio.
Thanks, Allison. Well, starting today, Columbia Road is experiencing a one-lane closure between US 50 and Ohio University. It's expected to last for 3 weeks, and the Athens County Engineer's Office says because of a culvert replacement project, all drivers should be prepared for delays when passing through the area. Select Athens, Hocking, and Perry County residents now have access to a program to help them stay cool during the summer. HAPCAP's Home Energy Assistance Summer Crisis Program started last week. It helps income-eligible Ohioans pay electric bills, repair their air conditioning units, or purchase a new unit. HAPCAP says it has already received around 100 applications. Public Relations Coordinator Valerie Addis says it's beneficial, especially during this time of year.
A lot of our neighbors are just facing additional expenses in the summer, particularly if they have children that are usually in school. This is just one program that can help a little bit with those additional costs in the summer.
Around 15 AC units have been delivered so far, and the program will continue through September 30th. Well, AEP Ohio is sending workers from Southeast Ohio to help turn the power back on to parts of Texas impacted by Hurricane Beryl. 120 AEP workers from across the state made the 2-day road trip to Corpus Christi to support their Texas branch. Service stations that sent workers include Athens, Marietta, Chillicothe, Wellston, and Pomeroy. Beryl has already caused 2 million power outages across the state. Line workers and support crew will aid in the restoration efforts. An AEP spokesperson said the operation is 100% volunteer-based. It could last up to 2 weeks, depending on how much help is needed. We are joined by weather forecaster Isabel Isco. Isabel, how is Southeast Ohio going to be impacted by Hurricane Beryl?
You know, the hurricane already hit parts of Texas, and that is just swooping in, going to be giving us some rain as we look later into this week. We're going to be seeing on our radar currently that Beryl did make its way through Texas. It is still kind of lingering throughout the area of the Midwest. And then once we hit Wednesday, that rain is going to be coming for Ohio. For currently in Athens County, we're seeing Athens at 91. As we go a little bit more north, Lancaster 86, Newark 87. In Parkersburg, they're at 90. There's parts of Buchanan at 98. You're seeing that heat advisory for parts of West Virginia, but here in Southeast Ohio, we are in the clear. For tonight, we're going to have that overnight low of 68, those partly cloudy skies. But once we get into these next 3 days, there is that chance of rain almost every day for these next 3 days. And we're going to be seeing those remnants of Beryl. I'll be talking about that in my full forecast. Let's take it back over to Haley.
Thanks, Isabel. Well, Beryl is now a tropical storm. It made landfall southwest of Houston today as a Category 1 hurricane. It's the first to make landfall in the U.S. this season. Harris County authorities say at least 2 people have already died as a result of the storm. Michael Yoshida is in Houston with the latest.
I looked up and my roof was gone. It just went.
Terrifying moments for Texans living along the coast as Hurricane Beryl slams the state, carving a path inland.
The wind tunnel just went crazy. Stuff started flying off the walls, zinging around the house.
Hurricane strength wind gusts reaching as high as 94 miles per hour in Freeport and knocking out power to more than 2 million customers in the state, according to poweroutage.us.
The biggest issue is going to be Centerpoint in Texas, New Mexico, assessing how many homes and businesses are without power. And then our favorite people over the coming few days will be the linemen as they get out and bust their butts on getting power back to everyone.
Across the area, fallen trees, a flipped truck, and collapsed roofs. Houston firefighters rescued a man trapped in bed when a tree fell on the house. The storm surge and heavy rainfall flooding several interstates as crews rushed to perform high water rescues for stranded drivers.
Are you okay, sir?
Please, Houstonians, anyone that can hear my voice, shelter in place. Shelter in place. We're in an emergency.
Houston Mayor John Whitmire calling on everyone to stay inside. He says the city is focused on emergency response, preparing for what comes next.
We will do an assessment. We will be opening up centers. The Red Cross is in contact with us.
In Houston, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
The Lawrence County Prosecutor's Office is receiving money from the state to help hold sexual assault attackers accountable. Over $160,000 will be used to fund an investigator position focusing on sexual assault incidents in the area. The investigator will work on leads developed from sexual assault kits in child sexual assault cases. As part of this grant program, 4 more organizations across the state will receive part of the $900,000 to support sexual assault survivors. Well, a former purchasing agent for the Columbus Zoo has pleaded guilty to 6 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. Tracy Murnan must also pay $90,000 in restitution to the zoo. While working there, Murnan sold services from his family's business to the zoo and used a zoo vendor system to book a party bus for a family member's wedding. His plea follows former marketing director Pete Fingerhut, who pleaded guilty to 16 felony counts last week. Murnan's sentencing is set for September 23rd. Well, coming up, it's a critical week for the Biden campaign with congressional Democrats voicing concerns as they return to Washington, and why 3 Columbia deans have been removed from their positions.
The remnants from Beryl is heading towards Ohio. I'll be talking about that in my full forecast. Next on Newswatch.
On the Great American Recipe, we're inviting you to the 2nd annual Great American Recipe Bake Sale.
Here we go. I have participated in many bake sales. Be careful with all those crumbs that's around the side.
I have no idea how this is going to turn out.
It's really all about that bake.
Let's go, guys.
I am nervous about these cakes.
I've just never had anything like this.
I can eat 5 of them, you know?
Tonight at 9 on WOUB.
You know soup's going to be good when it starts with browned pancetta.
Get ready as Bridget, Julia, and the rest of the gang explore new recipes and cooking techniques.
And now the crimping begins.
Plus new gadgets, equipment, and ingredients.
Is there anything sadder than a burger on a plain bun?
It's a great new season of America's Test Kitchen.
I'm going through a lot of cake.
The American identity begins when Benjamin Franklin knit the American colonies together.
Franklin is endlessly interesting.
Printer, scientist, revolutionary.
He is the only founding father who evidently had a sense of humor.
His vision is broader than the American Revolution.
The things that he spoke of, that he wrote about, had a certain amount of power.
He really was an American genius.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
Thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to tell America's stories on this PBS station. Help us continue to tell these stories now and for future generations by including this station in your charitable plans.
Supporting this PBS station through a gift of stock is easy. To find out more, call the number on your screen or visit this website. Thank you.
Congress is preparing to return to Washington amidst widespread concern over President Joe Biden's ability to secure a victory for Democrats in November. Washington correspondent Julia Benbrook has details on this critical week for Biden's political future.
President Joe Biden remains adamant that he is the best candidate to take on former President Donald Trump in November's presidential election.
I not only believe that from the beginning, but I wanted to reassert and demonstrate that it's true. And I'm going to be doing that all through this week and from here on.
And this will be a critical week for the president's political future, with lawmakers returning to Capitol Hill. In a letter to congressional Democrats Monday, the president wrote in part, "I want you to know that despite all of the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I am firmly committed to staying in this race." Yes. But a handful of House members have publicly called on Biden to withdraw.
His decision not only impacts who's going to serve in the White House the next 4 years, but who's going to serve in the Senate, who's going to serve in the House, and it will have implications for decades to come.
Over the weekend, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries held a call to take the temperature of ranking members. The discussion was filled with deep concern about potential damage to the Democratic ticket and how it could impact the party's chances to win back the House majority. According to a source, the number of lawmakers who explicitly said Biden should not be the Democratic nominee was greater than the number who spoke up for him to stay. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Aircraft maker Boeing is pleading guilty to criminal fraud charges. They're paying a fine to avoid prosecution, according to a Justice Department court filing. It says the aircraft maker has agreed to plead guilty to conspiracy to defraud the U.S. That charge stems from 2018 and 19 crashes in which 346 people died. The document lists the fine as up to $487 million. That's a fraction of the almost $25 billion victims' families want Boeing to pay. Boeing confirms reaching an agreement in principle, but did not give details. The TSA says this July 4th holiday weekend hit a new all-time travel record. They say they screened upwards of 3 million passengers for the first time ever yesterday. Travelers flooding through checkpoints nationwide as people returned from Independence Day trips. It shattered the previous record set last month when just under 3 million passengers were screened on June 23rd. American Airlines said it saw record numbers too, with nearly 775,000 customers across more than 6,500 flights. There were some disruptions, though, due to Hurricane Beryl, and according to data from FlightAware, nearly 700 flights were canceled.
Looking at weather currently in southeast Ohio, Athens 91. As we go a little bit more south, you're seeing those higher to 100 digits. You're seeing Buchanan at 98, Huntington 94. They are in that heat advisory currently for parts of West Virginia, but here in southeast Ohio, we are in the clear from that. Looking at tonight, we're going to have that overnight low of 68 with those partly cloudy skies. This rain that is going to be making its way through will kind of hold on until Wednesday to get some of that rain, but it is a slow-moving system that is going to be slowly making its way over. Looking at tomorrow morning, 12 hours ahead, we are still in the clear. This high pressure is going to be sitting a little bit south of us, giving us just a little bit of this clearing before we get some of that rain in the area. These little pop-up isolated showers you're seeing in parts of Indiana are going to be making their way over. Looking at this time tomorrow, we're still going to be in the clear. That high pressure system is going to be moving its way out, and that rain is going to be given the chance to bring some of that rain to us. We are going to be seeing it kind of giving parts of northern Ohio a little bit more of that intense rain, but that chance of rain is still here in southeast Ohio. Looking at tomorrow, that 20% chance of showers, that is more towards that later hour, so if you have any daytime plans, they should be in the clear with that temperature high of 93. It's going to be a lot warmer than today with that low of 74 tomorrow. Once we get to our Wednesday, that's whenever we're going to be seeing these blips of rain head towards us. we're having this high pressure, this warm front moving its way in too, which is going to be warming us up for tomorrow and continuing that warm up trend before we start to cool down once this rain makes its way in and give us a little bit of cloud cover to cool us down. And then once we hit that 48-hour mark, you see where I was talking about that, where we go a little bit more north, where they're having a little bit more intense of that rain. But we're still going to be seeing those sprinkles here in southeast Ohio. For our 7-day outlook, see that chance of showers for tomorrow, Wednesday, and then kind of trailing off into Thursday. And after that, we're going to be seeing those sunny skies once again for our weekend. But Sunday, that's whenever a new system makes its way through. Definitely need some of that rain here in southeast Ohio. We've had some dry weather here for these last few weeks, so having that rain isn't too bad other than dampering your Wednesday plans with that 70% chance of showers and that high of 87. Once we hit Thursday, that 84, and then Friday, those mostly sunny skies coming back up and warming back up for our weekend while we're seeing those 90s in these last 3 days of our outlook. We're going to be taking it back over to Haley.
Thanks, Isabel. In a landmark deal, movie studio Paramount is agreeing to merge with David Ellison's Skydance Media. The agreement is worth $4.7 billion. Once the sale is approved by regulators, Skydance would acquire Redstone's majority stake in National Amusements Holding Company. That, in turn, would result in control of Paramount, which includes a number of cable channels, including Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, and MTV. Skydance and Paramount already have had a long partnership, producing some of the industry's biggest blockbusters. Well, 3 deans from Columbia University have been removed from their posts for text messages that included anti-Semitic tropes. University President Manoush Shafik said the incident took place in May during a panel discussion on Jewish life at an alumni event. A spokesperson for the university said the 3 officials are still employed at Columbia. Dean of Columbia College, Joseph Surratt, was also involved, but will keep his title after apologizing for his actions. Columbia has recently been under fire from politicians and others to do more to protect Jewish students and prevent anti-Semitic protests on its campus. Well, despite advances in cancer research and treatments, death rates for uterine cancer continue to rise, and Black women are more likely to die from the disease. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has the signs to watch out for in the fight one family is waging after losing a loved one.
She was the most outgoing, caring person in the world.
In September 2020, at the age of 63, Sherlyn Webb was diagnosed with uterine cancer, but was told the disease had been caught early.
We thought that it wasn't going to be that bad.
But during treatment, Webb's son says things went downhill. There were therapeutic complications. Less than a year later, Webb died.
For us, it crushed us.
Webb is not alone. Black women are more than twice as likely to die from uterine cancer compared to other racial groups, according to the National Cancer Institute. Researchers at the Ohio State University Comprehensive Cancer Center are trying to figure out why.
Uterine cancer is the only cancer over the last 4 decades that has actually had decreasing survival rates.
Dr. Casey Cosgrove and his team are hoping to develop targeted treatments to improve survival, but he says women should be aware of the signs, which can include abnormal uterine bleeding, pelvic pain or discomfort, vaginal discharge, changes in bladder or bowel habits, abdominal bloating or fullness, and a persistent cough. All these symptoms should prompt a talk with your doctor.
So that if appropriate, some additional testing like ultrasound and or biopsies might be performed to make sure that there's not something that's going on.
Webb's family is now working to make everyone aware of this disease and its disparities.
There's no better way to honor her than to help others.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Dr. Cosgrove says obesity, polycystic ovarian disease, and diabetes are known risk factors for uterine cancer. And so is genetics. That's why he says it's important for people to know their family history. Well, coming up next, have you noticed more bugs this summer? An expert tells us what you need to know to keep yourself and garden safe. And for the latest from Newswatch, follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
We are entertainers first. That's my stage.
There were some anger issues.
Oh.
You cannot be serious!
you say sex god, I hope I was popular for my tennis.
She made women believe that they are equal to men.
Tennis was absolutely massive.
For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
Let's start at the beginning, shall we? I can't wait.
Back in the game, bringing the thunder. I'm making waves.
People will be watching your every move. I can handle it. Let's go.
So, what's your secret?
Things are starting to move in the right direction.
Tell us everything.
Are you ready for more? Just getting started. Locked on the target. Are you ready for more?
No one is going to tell me who I can or can't be. Troubles, honey, like you wouldn't believe. Hop in. Every day, I see the evidence of all that love can do.
Whatever happens, we'll be together.
There's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be.
This was perfect.
Well, if you have noticed some extra bugs this summer, you're not alone. We are joined by Ed Brown from Ohio State University's Agriculture and Natural Resources branch in Ohio. Mr. Brown, thanks so much for being here. Now, could you talk a little bit about why we're seeing such an uptick in bugs this year?
Well, this year was a perfect storm for bugs coming out because we had early warm spring temperatures and they continued. We didn't have a downturn like we normally do in the spring. And most bugs are dependent on the amount of hours over 50 degrees before they hatch. And this is called our growing degree days. And so we hit those thresholds earlier this year. So we had many more bugs hatching earlier. And now since they hatched earlier, they might go through 2 or 3 life cycles, generations, 2 or 3 generations this year. So we're gonna see some through that. Now, some bugs don't do that, and so we'll see this taper off. Yeah. As we go through the season and as we kind of dried out here, you won't see them as much, but we sure did hit a lot of them. And actually, if the viewers wanted to check out where we're at on that growing degree days, you can look, search for Ohio Growing Degree Day calendar and put in your zip code, and it'll show you what bugs will be coming out and how many hours. So I checked today, and we're over 1,800 hours above 50 degrees at this point. So we're about 200 or 300 hours above when we normally are this time of year.
Yeah. So what kind of bugs are we seeing more of in the region right now?
We're seeing a lot. We're seeing a lot of agriculture pests come out. We're seeing some, the home ones are a little bit different because it's a controlled environment, but we're seeing all sorts of ones that are getting our crops and stuff. And we're on an uptrend because the bug life is cyclical. There's a lot of predators, a lot of things like to eat bugs. And so if there wasn't a lot eaten last year, we had a low threshold on those predators, and so we had a bigger bug population this year. And those predators are going to find new food sources, and they're going to start eating them this year, all the eggs and stuff. So next year we should see a lot less bugs because the population won't be quite as high.
Yeah, so talking about bugs coming and eating, how should viewers make sure they're protecting their gardens and their lawns?
The biggest thing is to get out there and scout, just to walk around and see what activity is going on. You start seeing leaves being chewed on, different damage. It's hard, and it's really hard during the summer because we go on vacation and such. We go away for a week and they come back, and some bugs can really devastate a garden within a few days. Sure. And so if we're not paying attention to those on a regular basis, we could really be harmed. But if you go out in your garden, I like to go in the evening when it's a little bit cooler and flip some of the leaves over. There's a lot of the moths and different insects leave egg masses, little yellow or orange or different colors, and so they're kind of easy to see, and you can just brush those off, and then you don't have to worry about killing those. We'd like to avoid having to use insecticides if we don't have to. That's a last resort. And so if we can get out there and scout and look for those egg masses and look for damage early on, and maybe even pick them off, and if you feel comfortable squishing them, the adults there before they lay the eggs, that's even better. But just being out there and being in nature really does help out.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Brown, thank you so much for your time. For more information, you can contact Mr. Brown and the team at the Athens OSU College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences branch. Still ahead, you won't see this WWE star in the ring after next year. But first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
You will actually see the destruction happening before your eyes.
We will see increases in birds and all kinds of insects.
We still have a chance to save it if we act. Can you turn on the rain in the rainforest? So we're basically seeing right here, right now, the future of what tropical forests might be like.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
When you hear the term the future, what does that conjure up?
What we do and the things we create over the next few decades will shape all minds going forward for the rest of time.
I set out in search of people who are building better futures.
Civilization is precious. Life is precious.
Hundreds of years from now, they're going to look back on our generation as the most pivotal in human history.
Let's make the most of this summer.
There's about to be a whole lot of love in this kitchen.
Smells good in here.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Disco started with parties. Good times, good feeling.
It brings people joy.
I don't need a detective. The baker will do.
This is what we've got, and we can make it ours. It's so good.
9 boys.
The sons of loggers, the sons of fishermen.
One shared dream.
There was speculation of whether this was an Olympic team.
For gold.
American crew appears to be in the rear.
For country.
They had to fight and claw and drag that boat.
For each other.
8 hearts beating as one.
The Boys of 36 on American Experience.
They spoil the script.
Tuesday at 9 on WOUB.
Finally tonight, John Cena has announced he's retiring from wrestling in 2025. The 47-year-old wrestler turned actor broke the news during World Wrestling Entertainment's Monday in the Bank event. Cena said he plans to do between 30 and 40 dates through the next year to wrap up his quarter-century-long wrestling career. The 16-time WWE World Champion is tied with legendary wrestler Ric Flair for the record number of championships. In his retirement announcement, Cena thanked viewers for, quote, letting me play in the house that you built for so many years. What an amazing career John Cena's had, though.
For real. I mean, he's been in so many movies. I know
yes.
he's known for wrestling.
You know you've made it when you're the merman cameo in the Barbie movie. If you've seen the Barbie movie.
If you've seen the Barbie movie, you've seen him.
He has a purple wig.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look finally at our weather for tonight. I want to keep on going about John Cena, but currently in Athens, 91 with those clear skies. We're having tonight that overnight low of 68 with those partly cloudy skies coming in. For tomorrow, we do have that 20% chance of showers, but that is going to be trailing later into the night. So if you have any day plans, you won't be seeing that rain quite yet with that temperature high of 93. It is going to be a warm one out there and that low of 70. For our 7-day outlook, we're going to be seeing that Tuesday, that 20% chance of showers at nighttime. And then Wednesday, that's whenever the barrel remnants, a little bit of showers in there. For Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to have that 30% chance of showers. But once we hit that Friday and Saturday Saturday, we're going to be mostly sunny before that next round of showers moves in. So for these next few days, we're going to have that rain. And then once we hit our weekend, we are going to have a little bit more sun.
Thanks, Isabel. Well, that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For Allison Patton and Isabel Isco, I'm Haley Sueno. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org or follow us on social media. Have a great night.
There's going to be a terrible scandal.
Anything interesting?
This is our chance to be together.
The name's Sherlock Holmes.